Hello everyone, it's Faye. It's Sunday nights. It's Sunday nights with Faye Seidler. I'm back for once, finally. I had a very busy September, early October. I'm a suicide prevention advocate, and that's the month that you get very involved in that kind of work. I am back though, and we should get back to weekly episodes, and you can see me, and we'll talk about the news, and it'll be fun. I'm also presenting with my Tomato Faye costume, which I put on, which there's a whole story behind that. We'll get into that later. But for now, we're going to get into our show, and I'm going to give you exciting news. So starting out, I want to call attention to an event we have coming up called Seeing in Color. That'll be October 21st and 22nd, so that's tomorrow and the next day from time of recording. And it is going to be an opportunity to listen to Scott, who I've worked with a number of times. They're a phenomenal advocate for suicide prevention, having experiences of someone with substance use, being a firefighter, and kind of working with that trauma and the isolation that can come being in fields like that. Their story is very inspirational. I've had the privilege of hearing it at least once, maybe more than once. But it is worth checking out, especially if you are a first responder in particular. I think it's something that can reach you. In other events, on October 24th, we have an opportunity for our middle and high school queer youth within the Moorhead side to check out Inspire Labs. Inspire Labs hosts a prison group, which specifically is for our queer youth to come, hang out, chill, vibe, do what you want. I think they probably have art supplies because that's just kind of how those events go. If they don't, yell at me. It's my fault, but I think they would. It'd be weird if they didn't. But that's coming up October 24th. If you have queer youth looking for support or help in any way, reach out to me at any time and I will tell you everything that's going on because I keep track of that. In politics, I want to highlight an article from Rob Port talking about his voting for Kamala Harris, our Democratic presidential contender. There's probably better words to say that. Only because Rob Port is very conservative, has been very conservative in this area for a long time, but also very critical of Trump as president. I am not presenting the story as he is right to vote for Kamala Harris or there is someone right in these elections, as I think you should vote for the person that you value, whoever that might be. However, I think it is very phenomenal and important and powerful for Rob to explain the reasons that he voted for Kamala Harris and the values that brought him to it. There is much more than I can say in a single episode as I try to summarize all of these points, but I just want to say, as someone who is also value driven, it's something I highly respect. And I think the more that we are honest with our values and put ourselves out there in ways that can be vulnerable or not totally safe, the more we can have real conversations and try to come together as people again instead of just, uh, not that. So I wanted to highlight that because I thought it was particularly powerful. In other news, there's a new organization, kind of, called Right to Read. The 2025 legislative session in North Dakota is likely going to feature quite a few bills that target kids' ability to read material or target anyone's ability to select it from libraries. It is going to be an attack on our libraries again. If you would like our libraries to not be attacked by specific interest groups in North Dakota who maybe wield more political power than they should, then there are opportunities to fight against that. I am nonpartisan in the work that I do, but I think that as an issue, it is very important to have accessibility for reading. And there are already so many mechanisms in our libraries to make sure we have content relevant to our communities. Our libraries are not broken, they don't need fixing, and when they do, I listen to librarians. Now, Right to Read is a lot of folks who probably have background in library science or libraries, defending that from people who maybe don't have the best interest of our libraries or our state when they try to ban books. If you want to get involved with that, there's going to be, I have this up and I have links in my weekly report. It was Indigenous Peoples Day last week, and I just want to highlight a resource put out by the National Education Association to make sure that guided instruction on our Indigenous populations is done in a honorable and equitable way within our classrooms. Basically, don't make all your kids tell the class what their spirit animal might be. Don't target out your Indigenous students to make them talk about their experiences or identify which tribes they might be from. Kind of some basic stuff to keep in mind, but we are very fortunate within North Dakota to have a lot of strong Indigenous communities that can come in and educate on the history of our people and our land, specifically the heritage that we have in this state. So basically, when we are getting to days like this, when we are honoring an individual or honoring people, it's important that we lead with their voices, that we invite them in to talk about it, and that we do so in a way that honors without tokenizing. So there's just a good resource to keep in mind. Put in your pocketbook for next year if you don't have it this year. I want to highlight a really cool resource that I actually just recently found out about from a local developer. This is a resource that are cards to use if someone goes nonverbal. Nonverbal is a pretty common state to get into if you've experienced trauma, PTSD, or a lot of other things can make that happen, where it is difficult to communicate. I personally have states where I can go nonverbal. It is very rare, but it does happen. They offer a deck of cards that connect you to very just key things to talk about that can be customized and itemized for your needs. This is something that's kind of emerging, and I'm really excited about it. If you want to hear more about that because you lead a clinic or deal with individuals that maybe would benefit from tools like this, here's something you can look into. I recommend it. I think personally, as someone impacted by stuff like this, I think it's cool, and I'd like more people to have access and opportunity to it as well. In health news, we have some exciting news in health. Medicaid will be covering indigenous healing practices in 4 of our states, unfortunately not North Dakota. It's worth reflecting that in medicine, while we do have specific schools of thought and research into a lot of different ways that we provide care, most of it is not connected to the culture and community that people might need to heal. We don't heal in vacuums. We need to be connected to people. We need to be connected to much more than just our bodies getting medication. And a lot of times, indigenous healing practices can incorporate that. It is seeing very often the whole person and their connection to the community that can be very required to start to heal and a lot of different things that happen. And the ways that modern medicine can exclude individuals or be very colonial in its approach can make it so people don't even try to get care. When you have different lenses in our medicine and give more opportunities for a more holistic way for individuals to come to our healthcare systems, everyone benefits. And it's really cool that Medicaid is taking this step to create more accessibility. And I hope it's something that we can expand into North Dakota. Fargo's emergency food pantry is asking for additional help. I've been following news around food and food shortages and everything across the state. And from my understanding is there's been a 200% increase in need for people accessing services like the Great Food Banks. I think we see that trickling around the state as individuals are getting less resources and support from pandemic era aid running dry and not being able to afford food. It's a crisis that we need to address within our legislative session to give real relief to individuals and families who do work all the time but can't make ends meet with our current economy. So if you're able to donate or help the emergency food pantry, if you're able to donate, promote, or help our Great Food Bank, and if you're able to help them out as we look at ways that we put funding into different state programs, please keep all that in mind. A lot of people need more help than we're giving them, and this is just a call to action for that. Data put out by the North Dakota Compass highlighted the graduation rates of our students compared to income and race. And you see a stark difference between our white students, Black students, Indigenous students, and you can see a sharp decline in graduation rates for our BIPOC students. You can also see there's a sharp difference in income versus having adequate income and low income compared to graduation rates. What we see in this data is that a lot of times our BIPOC communities have to deal with a significant amount of minority stress going through schools. There's so many accounts of bullying, intense bullying that makes kids not want to be there and not believe they have futures. Not only that, oftentimes they're dealing with generational poverty that can be impacting their ability to go to school. I personally know of families where the oldest kid can't wait to work so they can support their younger siblings. Like, it is so difficult for our BIPOC students to make it through school. They're set up to fail in every single way, and there's not good access to support. Even today, we're looking at things like bullying from sports games with racial taunts being thrown out, and that's just what makes the news. Like, a lot of times our BIPOC youth are not safe in schools and they are constantly looking around wondering when it's going to come, the attack, the the taunts, the whatever. This to me is just, we need to do a lot more and a lot better. We all take bullying seriously in concept, but in the actual classrooms, these kids aren't safe. And we see that reflected in the outcomes of de-investing from education. So that's something to consider, and that's something to also bring to the table as we move forward to our 2025 legislative session. We need to take bullying seriously, and we need to create safe avenues for these kids to be kids. One of those avenues is going to be food support, and I think we all are starting to move into how important food security is. My previous story talked about the Great Plains Food Bank and all that great work being done, but we can feed kids in school, and it is the best use of our money possible. It goes further than anything else for public good. But we are struggling with that. We are feeding so many of our kids, but we can use so much more support, especially to make sure no one is falling through the cracks. Not just food at school, but food kids can take home. We should be able to all agree that kids should eat. Parent responsibility, I don't care about that at all. I care about kids eating, who, like, I want to not swear and be professional for you. I could say more, but we should make sure kids eat. There is some good data from Kids Count about this, about where we are, what we're doing successful, and what we could be doing more successfully, but this is important and we should think about it. It continues to be worth reflecting that medical care for our trans youth is medically necessary and evidence-based. There is a reason that our doctors prescribe it. There is a reason that every major medical organization across our nation also supports it. We have seen and treated patients for decades. We understand the quality of life improvement that occurs for these kids, especially what happens when they're not able to access it. We did not get into this care because of a political or ideological reason. We got into it because we wanted to make sure kids could live to tomorrow. We took baby steps over decades to get to where we are, and we still are cautious when we talk to kids. You can find specific examples where this care fails. As an individual doctor, as an individual patient, that will happen because healthcare is not perfect. It never has been. But when you focus on that and discard the tens of thousands of patients who have benefited from this, whose life has changed, who went from self-harming and depression to thriving and connections, you know how needed it is. We talked about this care during the pandemic when we were ripe with conspiracies and anxiety, and we are now out of that. And I think every day that we are here in a better space, we can slowly heal and start to understand that we want what's best for kids. Doctors are not nefariously evil organizations trying to hurt people. That's silly. We are trying to make sure kids have the best life possible. And that is conversation after conversation, baby steps into making sure that every day we ask, how are you doing? What can we do to make this you happier? That's what healthcare is. And that's what healthcare will continue to be. And it benefits us supporting our doctors, not listening to influencers or politicians and their hot takes on what you need a medical degree to understand. I want to highlight some incredible work from our local Tellwell group that does great work in centering stories in people. There are a lot of organizations that I work with, and some of them I don't think are particularly good at what they do. Not to call anyone out, but only to tell you that Tellwell is the real deal. I trust them. They're an organization that cares, and I look forward to seeing what they can do. It makes sense to me that they've won an award because they have always been so intentional and thoughtful and kind in the work that they do to put people's stories to motion to video. So I'm glad they won that award. I hope they continue to do phenomenal work in our state and continue to win many more awards. The last thing I want to highlight is Kevin Hines, not sure, came to Grand Forks to talk. They are a survivor of suicide, someone who had jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge, I think, and ended up surviving it. They now tell stories of that and encouraging people to stick around. They are here, I believe, entirely or largely because of our Grand Forks Tears, which is the state premier suicide loss, survivors of suicide loss group. They're an organization I also trust. I think they do phenomenal work, and I think that we have not brought that into the conversation enough. The individuals who have lost someone to suicide, they need places for support and help. Part of reducing suicide contagion and building hope is recognizing that this is something that we can survive. When individuals end up losing someone close, it's devastating and difficult. but every day we can carry their memories forward in meaningful ways. No one really leaves our life in the way that their memories continue to shape us and continue to shape the people we are and the people we interact with. And it's always important to keep in mind that we don't get infinity with everyone. Every interaction we have has a timeline. And when we understand that, it's about appreciating who is in our lives when we have that opportunity for as long as we do, knowing it is not forever. There's more to say on that, but Kevin does incredible work, and I'm glad that they're able to get here to talk about all of that. I'm going to be moving into voting. Yeah, voting. I talked a lot about the 2023 session. Woo, yeah. No, 2025 session, actually. But we're going to be talking about what you can do to get people in office who can do different kind of bills, or to keep some people out of office if you don't like the bills they do. And then I'm just going to showcase again a concert coming up by Jared and Amanda Hoft, which will be November 2nd at 3 p.m. And I'm just going to give you the preview that I did a couple weeks ago, just to give you a refresher on that. I have a ton of things I always do. I have them all in my weekly report. If you want to get connected, I also have newsletters. So I give you snippets of what I do each week for this segment. But if you are ever in the position where it's like, Faye, I feel the call and I would like to do more, how do I do that? Email me and I will try not to give you too long of an email so we can actually work into the next step. My goal is to just open that door for you. So always reach out if I can help in any way. But thanks for joining me tonight. Bye. Until the next segment. Hi, it's going to be November 5th soon. That's the day you can vote. And you can vote for whoever you would like that fits your values, and you should. I would like to say that regardless of your big feelings about democracy, you can get a sticker for doing it. Do you know how hard it is to get free stickers these days? Like, it's usually a couple quarters. And if you keep on doing this, you can get a ton of stickers. Like, over the years, like every 2 years, you can get like a sticker for free. That's the first reason that you should vote, and one of the only good reasons. The second reason that you should vote is because you matter. Voting, I need you to understand, cannot be about winning. Because you might not. And folks that don't share your values might be the ones in office for the next 2 to 4 years, or whatever elections we're talking about. Do not vote because your vote's important to the election. Do not vote to make sure your candidates win. Vote because you matter. Voting is an investment in your own voice to say, this is what I care about and the people I care about. It's important to frame it that way because that is how you can center the importance of participating in democracy. That's the only thing you can walk away with that you know is true. You walk away because you voted and you cared. Maybe you don't care about who's on the ticket right now for national elections, but local elections are always going to be important and impactful in your life. We all have to pay attention to government because most of our life gets impacted by it. A lot of people are disconnected. I have been for several points in my life because a lot of things suck. And I vote now not because I think it will change the world. I don't think it will make anything better in my life by voting. I vote because I want to say that I care about myself and my community and my voice. That's why I vote. And that's why I put a vote out there. And that's why I think you should vote. I think if the only thing you ever do in the government or for government is vote on election days, I don't think that matters that much. Because you have to be invested every day. You can take some days off, like every Tuesday, I don't know, do you? But you have to be invested more than just that election day. And if the only thing you do is show up to vote for party line, I mean, that's fine, but that doesn't make the world better. The world gets better when we are all invested in it. That is how a democracy functions. It can't just be a party. It can't be a conflict between two parties. It has to be more than that. And when I argue for you to vote, it's for that reason. It has to be more than just two parties. It has to be more than just winning and losing. It has to be investing in our democracy. So that's the second reason you should vote. The first one is stickers. That's still more important. The second reason is to continue democracy. And the third reason is to support the people who are running. It's tough to run. Like, it is tough to be an elected official or to try to be, and thank them. Like, thank them for wanting to participate. I know there's a lot of grifters and people who are in office for reasons that are not to help people, but there are a lot of people who care about their communities and put themselves out there and try. The world's defined by the people who show up, and the people who show up to be elected and to lead are the ones that are doing that work. And you can trust them by your vote, you can trust them by supporting them or donating to them, but it's important to raise leaders up, right? Like, we can't just keep on expecting people to do the job of representative government. That's tough. We've seen so many people burn out in North Dakota, not ever wanting to come back because of how tough it was. So a vote isn't just your voice, it's to support people to be leaders. We need that just as much. Those are the 3 reasons that I would say to vote. 1, stickers, 2, for yourself, and 3, to raise up leaders. I'm going to do 2 things now. 1 is I'm going to show you a video from the League of Women Voters.
Hello, my name is Whitney, and I'm a volunteer with the League of Women Voters of North Dakota. Our mission is to empower voters and defend democracy. One way that we empower voters is through our voter guide on vote411.org, which is a nonpartisan nationwide voting and elections website. So if you head to vote411.org and enter your address on the homepage, you'll be able to see all the candidates that will be on your ballot and compare them. They respond to questions in their own words. And then you can read summaries of the 5 statewide ballot measures that we have this year. It's a great way to research what will be on your ballot. So I hope you'll head to vote411.org this year and share it with people so they can be empowered to vote from the top of the ticket all the way down to the county races and those ballot measures. And I'll let Faye tell you about the rest. Bye!
That was Whitney telling you everything you need to know about elections, about the 411, about getting that information so you know our measures, you know what they do. You can hear from our candidates in their own voice about how they answer questions. I think they have like everyone, or close to every one of our candidates has answered a couple of the questions so you can see who's right for you. And then how do you actually vote? There's a really cool and cute video that our Secretary of State put out. I'm just going to show you a little bit of that.
You've decided to vote in an upcoming election. If you've never voted before, haven't voted for a while, or are new to North Dakota, you might have questions about how to vote. The North Dakota Secretary of State's office is here to be your source for trusted, reliable election information. Before you head to the polls, make sure you meet the 3 requirements for voting in North Dakota. You must be at least 18 years old. You must be a U.S. citizen. And you must be a resident of North Dakota and your precinct for 30 days preceding Election Day.
The rest of it you can find on our Secretary of State website. Voting is really easy in North Dakota. And if you need more education or help, get in contact with like organizations that make sense to you. There's a Native Vote organization that does a lot with our Indigenous populations. There is the labor unions that do a lot with voting. the Association of Retirement People also does a lot of voting guides. The League of Women Voters, of which I am a card-carrying member, does a lot of work with that too. But access your people. Like whoever they are, they will tell you like all the information you need. But hopefully between the two, you can find some stuff out. The last thing I would say is you have to make a voting plan. If you're like, I'll just kind of wing it on November 5th and see what happens, it's not going to work. You need to right now put in your calendar, I'm doing this at this time. And you need to also talk to your friends about it and tell them, we should do this at this time. That is how people vote. And tell them it is free stickers. Lead with that. Democracy, ideas, freedom, it's stickers. That's how we get them. That's how we're going to get to the future is stickers. Hopefully this was helpful though, but I don't think you should vote because it's the most important election of your life. I think every day is the most important day of our life, right? Vote because it matters to you. Vote because democracy matters to you. And vote just to be happy with yourself. I think it's valid to vote anyway, any party you want, any person you want. I think it's valid to also not vote if that's your vote and you've considered everything, that's valid too. But if you just don't have the time and energy to put into this, do your best to make some. Do your best to invest in yourself because you'll care a little bit more about the world and have a little bit more of an impact in it. It leads to hope. Hope is something we make, and voting can be something hopeful. I also wrote an article about how don't be too depressed, depending on what happens on November 5th. We will keep working no matter what. No matter who is in office, no matter what party, I will keep on working to build a better future, and so will so many other people across the state. So that is everything I have about trying to get you to vote in like 2 weeks. Yeah, happy Halloween when that happens too. That's not related to voting, but you know, it's cool. It's coming up. So I have a real treat for you. It's a video promoting the Memories concert that's coming up by Jared and Amanda Hoff. That's a benefit to our Fargo Moorhead Gay Men's Chorus. That is coming up November 2nd at 3 p.m. And I will let you check out the video that's promoting it right now. Well, thank you everyone for watching my show. That's all I have for today. I hope you have a good rest of your week. I hope we see you back here next week. Just want to give some thank yous to all the folks here who contributed to the show, who made it all a great time and informed us about the cool stuff they're doing. He will be my outro probably for a while until I choose to change it. You all have a good day. Bye.